Mandy for breakfast.
Triple M. Mandy
For breakfast.
Triple M.
18 past 7, the Riverina's 963 Triple M, and a very sad day on Tuesday, hearing of the passing of Stephen Hawking, a very brilliant and intelligent man who was unfortunately also dogged by motor neuron disease. But he made a massive contribution to the world of science and to humanity in general with some of his theories and thoughts. And I thought it only best to actually have someone who knows a lot about his theories and thoughts. It's Shara Evans, a futurist, someone who goes around to laboratories around the world finding out what things are coming our way. Well, only fitting for her to come on and talk about Stephen Hawking. Good morning, Shara Evans, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Hi, Mandy. It's great being back on your show.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, he's made a huge contribution to science and humanity in general. But first of all, I think let's visit motor neuron disease and the technology that was used to help him. I mean, what marvelous things they were able to do.
Well, so many people who have these diseases end up, in effect, being locked into their bodies and just not able to communicate with the world. But because of his prominence in the research community and his brilliant mind, he was able to work with researchers around the world to be able to help him design technology that let him communicate in spite of the disease progressing. One of the things I was reading about was a collaboration with researchers from Intel and from another startup in the UK that helped him translate his brain patterns and facial expressions into switch activators for his speech machine. And it's just incredible technologies that were developed to allow him to continue to share his brilliance with all the rest of us.
Not only that, but he had a lot of different views that he was able to convey through that technology, various predictions and fears.
Yes, Stephen Hawking was most known for his work as a brilliant physicist and cosmologist with his work in black holes, but some of his fears as well extended to the whole of humanity, as in what's going to happen to us here on Earth. And his view was that we really, really need to go into space because there are things that could happen that would be planet-wide disasters. And he named a few things like a nuclear war or accident, a genetically engineered virus, global warming, and other things that could actually have a planet-wide impact. So in his view, getting into space was really, really important. And what's so exciting right now is that we are living in a time when space exploration is becoming a practical reality. And I was speaking with Brian Cox, who's a renowned physicist from the UK, and his view is that space exploration is actually achievable in the next 10 years.
Wow.
That's really short term.
It is very short term. Still talking about the passing of Stephen Hawking at the age of 76, someone who most certainly defied the doctors with managing to live much longer than 21 years of age, or 23 is what they'd predicted when they did diagnose him with motor neurons disease. And I'm having a chat with Shara Evans this morning, who's a futurist, just to give more justice to Stephen Hawking's legacy and what he's left behind, including his thoughts on aliens. Shara, what about this one?
Oh, that is a subject I love to talk about. I've been a science fiction geek since I was a little girl, reading about aliens and other civilizations. But what's happened over the last decade is that we have been discovering planets around other solar systems in our galaxy where it is an absolute known established fact, and many of them are in what they call the Goldilocks zone or Earth inhabitable zone.
Yep.
And one of the remarks that Stephen Hawking made was that we know that there are over 100 billion known galaxies, and of course trillions of solar systems in those galaxies, and it would be completely arrogant of us to assume that we are the only life form in the universe.
Yeah, right.
However, he said when it comes to aliens, we should steer clear because it's very likely that they're going to be much, much more advanced than we are, and that could pose a risk to us as well.
Wow. But artificial intelligence, he had some concerns on that side of things as well?
Exactly. With almost any technology, there are pluses and minuses. It's always a double-edged sword. And Stephen Hawking had one famous quote about artificial intelligence. He said, "Success in creating artificial intelligence would be the biggest event in human history. Unfortunately, it might also be the last."
Yeah.
Now, when he was talking about AI there, he was talking about AIs that have human level or beyond intelligence, not the sort of technology that we're starting to play with now, but he was talking about super intelligent, self-aware, sentient artificial creations.
Yep.
And he was quite afraid that if we don't design these new living entities correctly,
Yep.
we might end up wiping ourselves out. And there's a tale from mythology about King Midas, who wanted everything that he touched to turn to gold, and that
Yep.
was his wish, and it was granted to him. Unfortunately, he didn't think it through very well because not only did things like a brick turn into gold, but so did his food
Yeah.
and his daughter and things that he actually didn't want to turn into gold. And I think that that's a good parallel or analogy for what Stephen Hawking's fears might have been, is that if we design these super intelligent machines before we really understand their capabilities and how they might evolve, we could end up wishing for something that we don't know how to control.
Look, he was a brilliant man, and just as I predicted myself, you were able to give much more justice to his legacy than what I was able to. Shara, it's been an absolute pleasure having a chat with you. Thank you for your time.
Mandy, it's always fun chatting with you. Thank you for having me on your program.
7:28. If you'd like to know more about Shara Evans and the work that she does, a futurist who goes around to laboratories around the world and lecturing, a keynote speaker on the things that are headed our way, either in technology and advances in science, well, then you can go to sharaevans.com.